Hi, this is Beth Schibley, and I'm bringing, and I'm here today with Beverly Squire-Wiggins and Rose Smith from, Beverly is from Home Instead, and Rose is from Aging Matters in Brevard. She's one of my co-workers, and we're here to talk about staying safe in your home. So Beverly is going to be presenting, and Rose and I are going to be also presenting with her. So welcome, Beverly. First,
thank you.
Would you do me a favor, both of you do me a favor, and just tell us each a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I'm the supervisor of the Housing Improvements Program with Aging Matters in Brevard. I have multiple handymen that we send out throughout the county to install safety devices such as grab bars, wheelchair access ramps, handheld showers. We check smoke detectors and we change light bulbs. So anything to help keep you safer in your home longer.
I'm Beverly Squire-Wiggins. I'm with Home Instead Senior Care. I'm the home care consultant, and Home Instead is a locally owned franchise, and we provide non-medical in-home care for seniors to help them stay in their homes for as long as they want to. And the kind of care that we offer includes companionship in homemaking, personal care, help with medication reminders. We do specialize with clients who have Alzheimer's or dementia, and we can also help with transportation. So I'm very pleased to be here along with Beth and Rose to talk about our subject today, which is staying at home your way from the caregiver's perspective.
Fabulous. I believe, Beverly, that you have a PowerPoint presentation. If you want to bring that up on your screen, you can share that.
Right. But this is this is meant to be conversational, so at any point, feel free to ask questions through this. So we got together, just reiterating what we do as a company. We help seniors remain in their homes safely for as long as they can. And I have to qualify home because home can be anywhere. Home can be the traditional home. Home can be a senior living community. It depends where that senior is at. And so we got together and we decided that we wanted to talk about this because, well, let me just share what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover some facts today and stats on seniors and caregiving. We're going to talk about why fall prevention is so important if a senior wants to remain in their home. We're going to talk about some practical things that you can do now to prevent falling. And then we're going to really expand on, and the main focus of today's talk will be about you staying at home your way safely. And then we're going to come down and round things off with some cost-effective ways that you can start to look in your home and look at how you can make it safer for yourself in a more affordable way. So that's what we're talking about today. And so the first slide are the facts. We know, those of us that work in this area, that seniors want to stay at home. And the facts are, and they come from the Global Coalition on Aging and the Home Care Association of America, of which Home Instead Senior Care is a member. And when I speak, I'm not speaking generally about Home Instead Senior Care. This is just a general conversation that we're having together as professionals, correct, ladies?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
And so 9 out of 10 Americans aged 65 and older want to stay at home. We know that. Most seniors say they want to stay at home. But did you know that 80% think their current home is where they'll live for that time?
I did not realize that, Beverly. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
people, when people move in to their homes and they're maybe, even when they're downsizing after having kids, that have moved out. They move into their home, maybe, their downsized home when they're in their 50s and early 60s, and they think it's going to be their forever home. But I'm not sure they're always thinking about what that means.
So. And so, if I really, 80% think their current home is where they will always live.
Yeah.
The reality of that, from our point of view, yes, ladies, that isn't always happening.
Especially,
sorry, Rose.
Especially if they, around age 55, decided to go into one of those wonderful mobile home communities and then later realize that that cannot be retrofitted as easily as they age. So unfortunately, some hard choices have to be made at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're going to explore that as we go into our talk more. Just to round off some of the facts, because they're really interesting facts that we have to look at now, but we look into the future. By 2020, 56 million Americans will be age 65 and older.
Wow.
That's 2020, sorry, that's where we are now, 56 million. By 2050, that number will reach 84 million by 2050. The oldest old population, Americans over 85, is on pace to triple by 2040.
Wow.
And nearly 70% of Americans who reach the age of 65 will be unable to take care of themselves at some point without assistance. And this is why we decided to have this conversation, because if we look at the top one again, 9 out of 10 Americans age 65 and older want to stay at home, but 70% of them will need some help. So that's why we decided to feature this as staying at home your way from a caregiver's perspective, because the last one is the one where if you're 65 and over, and at some point 70% of you are going to need some help. Yes, and that's why we're talking about this.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that yeah, you're right. And people aren't necessarily, they're not connecting the dots there,
So
and we always think they're going to be part of the 30%, and it just doesn't work that way.
So there has to be some preparation.
Right.
So let's just switch from the senior to the assistance part, the 70% that's going to need assistance. So who's going to assist them? And their caregivers. So right now in America, we have 34.2 million Americans who are serving as caregivers over the age of 50. And then on average, family caregivers spend 24 hours a week providing that care. I can testify, I was a caregiver to my mum. It's not something you plan often, but these talks allow us to be able to share with you that actually you need to start thinking about this at some point. It might not happen to you. You might be the 30% that doesn't need assistance, but we are encountering people who will come into that 70% bracket and need help. So again, the reason why this is such a hot topic for us is because we look at the stats and the impact of caregiving. And I don't know if Beth or Rose can speak to this, but the impact of caregiving, the numbers are there. 90% report high levels of physical strain. 60% of family caregivers already work. And then on top of that, you're providing care. 61% of family caregivers make workplace accommodations. So they have to adjust themselves. So for example, when I was caring for my mum, I would leave out at 7 o'clock in the morning, go back at 9 o'clock, go back at 12. You have to make the adjustments.
My mom did the same thing. On her lunch breaks, she would go to doctor's appointments. After work, hair appointments, grocery shopping. She'd make extra food delivered on Sundays and, make sure. And in the middle of that, she's getting 5 or 6 phone calls from her mom, and then more from other people who are helping. And so it almost seemed like, I don't know how she did her job with the county for so many years. I really don't.
And so that's why that last figure is so important, which is 25% of family caregivers are more likely to be diagnosed with high blood pressure or other conditions because of the impact on them.
When we think about the so what that goes along with this is, in order for folks to be able to stay safe in their home, and if they need help, and most of us are working with it, on some level, a family caregiver is the many times the primary caregiver, even if they're lucky enough to be able to have a company like Home Instead working with them. Many of them still consider themselves, they're still there, the vast majority of the time. And so to understand, the family caregiver needs to be able to take these statistics that you're giving, Beverly, and think about what that means for their ability to be able to do this long term. This isn't like, even like having a baby and saying, okay, in 9 months we're going to be done with this, with the pregnancy. This isn't, there's no date that you're going to be able to say it. So you need to understand that it's a marathon and not a sprint. So
right.
A big part of that is, I think, making sure that the house is safe.
And so leading into that, it's about a conversation. With me and my mother, I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't even considered it. But she was up in age. She was 70 plus, and we'd never had a conversation about this. And so if we go back to the statistics that said 9 out of 10 seniors want to stay in their homes, we're going to transition to, okay, what does that look like? And so I'm going to touch on a topic that many seniors sometimes are resistant against, and it's called falling. So if you want to stay in your home, we need to make sure that you can stay there safely. And this is why we're going to transition into falls. And as we transition into that, I had a call. We have people calling in all the time. And this man talked about his wife and that she refused to use a walker, even though she's had falls. And we're going to connect the dots for you. So right now, you want to stay at home. 9 out of 10 seniors want to stay at home. We know that 70% of you are going to need help. And so we highlighted caregivers and the number of caregivers and the impact of caregiving with them. We're going to connect the dots, so bear with us. So the next part of this is falls in senior statistics. According to this, we now know the CDC, yes, we all know the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. 1 in 4 Americans aged 65 plus fall each year. 1 in 4. Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall. Every 19 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall. Falls are the leading cause of fatal injuries and the most common cause of non-fatal trauma-related hospital admissions among adults. I'm not even going to mention the bottom one at the moment, because the point is, if you want to stay at home for as long as you can, you need to be safe. And this is telling you that there's a danger of falling, and so we want to reduce that risk for you. And it says at the bottom, falls result in more than 2.8 million injuries treated in the emergency department annually. It's a big issue. So even if you're there as a senior, or if you're a caregiver or a family member, and you're looking at the person that you might be caring for at some point, this is something you have to have consideration for. Not because it's going to happen, but it might, because the statistics tell us that.
Well, and as soon as you introduce a fall into a caregiving situation, things get just so much more difficult. The physical, the ramifications of having to recover from a fall when you're in your 70s and your 80s, and you have other comorbidities. And I know we can't really get into the medical stuff, but everybody that's listening today understands that not being mobile really makes it difficult to have a good quality of life. And if you've fallen and broken your hip or broken your leg, keeping mobile, keeping your lungs working, keeping your large muscles working, all of those things get so much harder post fall. And if you can't, we have to be, you're absolutely right. It doesn't surprise me at all, Beverly, that falls are the main beast in the room.
So,
if I may, I'm sorry. Just to show kind of some examples of that, of course, your famous saying, a body in motion stays in motion. And boy, is that the truth, because once you have had that fall and then a doctor tells you, okay, well, now it's time to lay in bed and this and that, that happened to my grandparents. And the decline was so fast when they basically turned to just tell them, well, stay in bed. And one set of my grandparents died almost 10 years ago. My other set of grandparents who walk and physical therapy and this or that, they're getting into their 90s and they're still RVing all over the place because they never stopped moving. And it's so important.
I used to say to my mum, the more you move, Mum, the more you'll move.
Yeah.
The less you move, the less you'll move. So I used to say to her, come on, Mum, you can do it. Keep moving.
Exactly. And the fear of catching pneumonia in the hospital, boy, I mean, you don't want to go there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's huge.
So
Especially today.
So this slide, I'm just going to go past, but just look at the date, 2007, and look at where we are, 2006. That was the last time it was reported on. But that increasing fall number. And so we couldn't have this conversation about staying at your home, in your home, your way, without mentioning fall. So it's not going to be the main part of what we talk about, but we have to mention this. Yes, agreed, ladies?
Absolutely.
And so just to summarize the falls, it's just to remind you that if you want to stay safely in your home, whether it be your traditional home that you raise your children in, or in a senior living community, it's so important that you safeguard yourself and ensure that the environment that you're living in is safe and it reduces your risk of falling, which we're going to move into next. Any other comments on that, ladies?
No, I think that's really clear.
Okay. So, what can you do to prevent falls? Well, I typed these up, but also the CDC have a wonderful handout, again, a lovely brochure, which I haven't shared, but these are the 4 things they say you should do to reduce your risk of fall. Talk to your doctor. Why would you talk to your doctor? Because you want to be able to them to evaluate your fall risk. Yes, it's as simple as that.
Well, and one of the things with the fall risk is your bone density. You know, if you know, and there are things that you can do to be able to ameliorate that a little bit with as far as your bone density. So if your doctor's on board and if you've got osteoporosis and you fall, that's a whole lot different than if you've got you know, if your bone density is okay. So yeah, absolutely, people, you know, and you can't necessarily tell that by just looking, you know.
You might want to ask your doctor or pharmacist to review your medicines to see if any might make you dizzy or sleepy.
Great.
Again, that can affect. Yes.
Yes, and then and their pharmacist could maybe recommend a different time of day to take that medication.
Yes.
You know, you have to, you know, with the conversations with your doctors, you know, maybe you have always taken it in the morning because that's when you're taking it, but maybe taking it in the evening or, you know, might be a better option. You're absolutely right.
Secondly, do strength and balance exercise. I was going to type just exercise, but it was very specific about do strength and balance and it had Tai Chi. And I wanted that picture with the man with the yellow on it. It's that movement when you know, that slow thing that you do. And because it's so important to strengthen, and that you're able to master the ability to balance if you should stumble.
Right.
Yes. And another one was have your eyes checked annually and update your glasses. Vision is what you need to be able to see so that you don't. Yes. So that's what it recommends. Then the final one at the bottom is what we're going to be focusing on today, which is make your home safe. Yes, ladies?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Before we move from the slide, I want to put a plug in for both the exercise class that we generally have at Sunflower House. So even though Sunflower House right now, we're still coming back from the COVID outbreak, so we're not open yet. But once that opens, we have regular exercise classes at Sunflower House. So please feel free to check out if you're watching this on Facebook, you can see where there's information about how to get to Sunflower House. Also, Aging Matter in Brevard has an RSVP program, and folks can call the main number at Aging Matter in Brevard to talk to Terry about signing up for their Matter of Balance class, which is an outcomes-based, nationally recognized exercise program that talks about balance. So talk to Terry, talk to me, and we can get you hooked up with some great exercise classes. That's the end of my pitch.
You know, I was going to stop sharing so we go back to the main screen, but I'm afraid if we stop it, we may not get back. So just to share that, I'm being honest here. We're sort of having a conversation.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've sort of summarized for you. We've looked at the facts, and we know that seniors want to stay at home for as long as they can, 9 out of 10. And most family members want that for them. We've looked at caregivers and the impact on caregiving, and we've looked at falls. So we know that to make your home safe, as part of that process, there's other things that you need to do. And that takes me to the next slide, which is staying at home your way means evaluating evaluating self, which means your personal self, your own personal safety, your physical well-being. Are you able to do so? And I think, is it worth at this point mentioning that for those seniors that are not able to stay at home, there are so many options in our community, yes, of senior living options that are available, and there are specialists out there that you can talk to about senior living options. We have great assisted livings, independent livings, and memory. We have such a resource here in Brevard County that if you decide with that first bullet point that when I look at myself and my own personal safety, I don't think I can stay here, or I might need to downsize. There are realtors out there that specialize in senior downsizing programs. And I just wanted to say that because as we talk together, we are not just the services that can help you. There's so much out there. Yes? So the first thing is to look at your own personal safety in the environment which you're going to be in.
That's a really hard thing to look at, especially if you go back to the idea that we all think that it's going to be somebody else and that we're going to be able to stay in our own home. And so it takes some really hard self-evaluation and looking at ourselves pretty critically to be able to recognize that. I also think it's hard for family caregivers to make those decisions. I'm sure, Beverly, that I'm sure that through Home Instead, you've got a gazillion stories about the folks that are just never thought that they were going to be in a position where they were going to have to make the decision to move to something other than being in their home. So to make that decision at first, that's not an easy decision for us to make.
Yeah, and I think this particular slide is about bringing in everybody else. So you evaluate your own personal safety, your home, evaluate the home itself, which is what we're going to talk about. And I think Rose is going to really come in on that, and whether it's safe for you to continue living there. Prepare your home to be your forever home. Decide who will take care of you if you should need assistance. Because remember what we said on the form with the data, 70% of seniors aged 65 and over will need some kind of assistance. And then the financial and estate planning. We have to include that because to ensure that you have the financial means to take care of yourself. So you might want to stay at home, but have you put in place the things financially and estate planning wise that you need to do to ensure that you can do that and live? Yes. And again, just to mean the community, I know financial advisors, I know elder law attorneys. There are lots of people out there in the community that can help you with those things. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So with that, I think it might be time to go to a video.
Cool.
And what we're going to focus on now is specifically the home. Yes? And how you can stay safely there. And I thought it would be nice to introduce a video to show you. Homestead Senior Care is a national, international franchise. And so we produce lots of educational materials to help people. And this next video, if it works, will help us to introduce this next stage of the conversation, which is where we're going to stay and focus, which is the home.
Hi, I'm Mary Alexander from Homestead Senior Care, and today I'm going to talk to you about home safety for seniors and some simple things you can do to help them remain in the comfort of their own home. The miracles of modern medicine are enabling all of us to live longer and more independently. It's a wonderful gift for many seniors to be able to stay in the home where they raise their families or to be in a new place that has become their retirement home. In fact, nearly 90% of seniors say they want to stay home. Doing so gives them a wonderful sense of continued independence and frees them from feeling like they might be a burden on family and loved ones. But despite their sense of freedom, having mom or dad live alone can be a source of worry for their adult children. The what-if scenarios can often overwhelm the mind. What if she falls down? What if the smoke detector goes off and they don't hear it? What if he forgets something on the stove? What if she doesn't tell me it's getting harder to get around? If you feel like this, you're not alone. In 2007, AARP surveyed boomer women and found that 2/3 are all concerned about their parents' ability to live independently. Certainly, there are legitimate concerns and many factors to consider. We've all heard the old adage that accidents happen closest to home. There is certainly a ring of truth to that. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, falls and fires pose the greatest risk of danger for seniors. Here are the facts. Adults ages 65 and older are among those at highest risk for residential fire deaths and injuries. Falls are the leading cause of injury deaths for Americans 65 and older. Each year, about 1/3 of adults 65 and older fall at least once. The rate of fall-related deaths among older adults rose significantly over the past decade. 20 to 30% of people who fall suffer moderate to severe injuries such as bruises, hip fractures, and head traumas. These injuries can make it hard to get around and limit independent living. They also can increase the risk of early death. Certainly, those are some pretty scary statistics, but knowing about the dangers gives you and your loved ones the power to take steps to prevent accidents before they happen. In this video series, we'll touch on a number of topics that will help you make life easier for your senior, while giving you a sense of comfort that mom and dad are living safely. We'll talk about why it's important to be vigilant about home safety, warning signs that your senior may be struggling, potential dangers lurking in a home, simple things you can do to make life easier for the independent senior and you, considerations for seniors with special care needs, and consulting professional help. Home Instead Senior Care, the national leader in providing in-home care services for seniors, is bringing you this video series to help you help your senior loved ones. Helping seniors is something Home Instead has been doing passionately now for more than 15 years. I not only work for Home Instead, but I am a certified senior advisor. More importantly, I am currently a long-distance caregiver for my dad, and I spent several months caring for my mom locally. Now let's get to those safety warning signs.
Okay, so that was a really interesting video because it brought back memories for me when I was caring for my mum, and the realization that I had to take up the rugs and go around the house and look at all the adjustments that we would have to make us safe. But because it was my mother, it wasn't a case of just walking around the house and taking things up. It had to be done in her time, safely. You know, as she journeyed through the latter part of needing assistance, we steadily evolved with that. So first it was the rugs, then it was the grab bar. So they happened as she progressed in her illness. And that way it allowed her psychologically to come to terms with what was happening. I think
Rose,
sometimes...
Yeah, Rose, I bet you can probably speak to that a little bit when you've seen folks go, when you've had to go in, and that trauma that happens when you're talking about, you know, having to put a grab bar on there over their favorite wallpaper, or, you know.
So I thought what would be helpful to do is go room by room. Yes.
I wrote a lot of notes during that video, so we could definitely do that.
So please, I've been talking quite a bit. Share. We're starting safety at the home. We've got the date, we've got the facts, we've got the data. We know you want to stay at home. We know caregivers or family members, you want to make sure that your loved one, your family member, mother, father, grandma, uncle, has their wishes. So let's go into that now.
Definitely. Well, what we do a lot of times, because our guys are laborers, of course, our handymen in my program are laborers. A lot of times the caregivers or the occupational therapists or family members have done that wonderful walkthrough for them and then call us and say, this is what we want done. That's an ideal world, right? Is here's a list of stuff already taken care of, we go in and do it. But I want to say that probably not even 50% of my calls. So
I was going to ask how often that happened, Rose. Not often, probably.
So about 30% of them are 100% prepared for what they want to talk to me about when they call in. The other ones really need our guidance. And so when we're going in, the handymen are trained to look for the rugs, to look for wires, oxygen, or is it called a tube or a hose?
Yeah, tubing. Yeah.
They'll get those oxygen tubes that are almost seem like they're 100 feet, so they can take them around the whole house. Well, that's, definitely a fall risk is your oxygen tubes, the electrical cords, plugging in 10 things into one outlet, because that's the chair you sit in most of the time.
Right.
And so that's where you have your phone, your iPad, your television, everything is plugged in right there, so that if something happens, it's a small minimal move to make a change. So we look for overloaded outlets. That's just the living room area. We also can make a chair platform. So if someone's in a recliner, and Beverly, you probably see this in homes, recliners are super comfortable, but getting out of one you almost sink into it, and to get up out of it is very hard. So we'll put about a 2 to 3 inch platform underneath those non-power recliners so that you can just kind of go from that sitting position straight into the standing position. And we don't do those to couches, but we do that for a chair, you know, for a recliner. So that's basically the living room, and of course the rugs, and we could say that all day long.
So shall we go room by room then? So look at, and I thought it would be useful to do from the moment you approach the house and externally, because if I think about how I had to approach Mum's house, was okay, she's walking with she had a cane at the time, then she progressed from the cane to a walker, then she went from a walker to a transporter, then she went from a transporter to a wheelchair. So as we journeyed through that, even the front, just to get through the front door, we had to have a ramp.
Right, and even before that is the mailbox. As funny as it sounds, the mailbox being on the curb, sometimes, especially if that walkway is like this, so moving the mailbox, and I know that sounds simple,
What
but
about that?
You have to get permission from the postmaster. But once you get the permission, which a doctor will write you a little note, we can put the mailbox right there by the door.
Wow.
So that's the first thing I look at is, where's your mailbox and can you get to it?
Wow, hadn't thought of that.
Beverly's writing it down. I see that.
I'm writing it down because I think as people listen to this and watch this, we want to be clear about things that they can do. So 1, front door, mailbox. Okay.
Yes, and definitely get a hold of the postmaster to do so, because if not, they won't deliver your mail. Or put in one of those door type ones where it can slide the letters right through the door, which I think of like back in the 50s and 60s. But
that's how it is in England. We have front doors.
Yeah. And then the peephole too. We want to talk about the peephole. You may have to lower your peephole because as we get older, we get shorter. And I'm already 5 feet. I can't see out of my peephole. So
the peephole, the little hole that you look through in the door, at the front door.
Yeah. And then going into stepping into the home, which of course, landscaping, keep the brush away from the door. But right before you step into the home, also consider putting a hook on the wall outside the door. This way, when you're opening your door and you're stepping over the threshold, you could put your purse or your groceries on this hook while you open the door, and then you can go in the front door and then turn around and grab your stuff, because that's a lot of times where people fall, is overloading themselves with stuff and the doors hitting them, and then they try to do the step. Same thing like when you want to take your dog out, you could maybe put the leash right there, pull out, get yourself situated, then grab the leash and then go walk your dog, because you don't want them taking off on you when you leave. So here's this hook right there. And then of course the hide a key, or the with the combination lock that the fire department has. If you lose your key, you want to be able to have a spare key that's locked up somewhere right in that area, and make sure to call the fire department and give them that information to that locked little box with your key in it. So
yeah, my mom's got one on her door that she got from the fire department. That, so that it's
so just summing up, just that. There's a lot there. So from the mailbox, call the postmaster, to the peephole, to the hook so that you can put your bag on it, to enable you to find your keys, and that then reduces the risk of fall.
Right.
To the hide key, or is it key hide?
It's called hide a key.
Hide a key. And you can then contact the fire department. Just repeat that, Rose.
Right. So once you've decided where you want to hide the key, or you could have it hanging on the door, like when you go into real estate.
Yes, a lockbox type thing.
Yes. And so just make sure if you're going to lock your key in one of those boxes that you give the fire department, or I guess fire rescue EMS, that information, and that's really going to stop the break-ins when they do have to get inside to get to you.
Cool. That's
and
great.
We still haven't even talked about the doorbell.
Tell me about the doorbell.
Tell us about the doorbell, Rose.
We're not even in the house yet, right? And we were worried this was.
But this is what people need to know.
Yeah.
If you're going to stay at your home, your way, these are the things that you need to do, and you can slowly do them. Yes.
My favorite thing is the doorbell. is to see if between you and a family member, or however you go about it, can get the Ring doorbell or whatever brand that has the camera on it. Because if something were to happen, for a lot of different ways, you have a camera. Let's say you've got someone who has Alzheimer's and dementia. First of all, that's going to ring to someone's phone that the person has left the house. It's going to tell you also, you're going to have the camera to know what they were wearing and what direction they turned when they left the house.
And the exact time.
And yes, and the time frame. Yes, you're exactly right. So not only is it for burglaries and, you know, suspicious people walking by, it's a key tool because you are not allowed with fire code to lock in your loved one who's got Alzheimer's. You never want to do that. I have so many people who call and want those dual deadbolts to where there's a key on both sides. That's a terrible idea. And I hate to use that word terrible because I know it's because they don't know better, but just to be as strong as what that is, that key gets lost. That's not a good thing. And to do it to a bedroom door or a bathroom door, never do that. But these Ring doorbells are amazing. And I think you can get them where they're hooked up to a strobe light. So if the person's hard of hearing and there's someone who comes to their door, they might not hear it. Their lamps will flash so that they know someone's at the front door. And or they can make them louder, but in all honesty, the lights are probably going to be seen before you hear it if you're having some hearing issues.
Can I just add to that? And we've got to remember about our time as well.
Yes.
That my stepdad had Alzheimer's and Mum was his carer. So on the alarm system for our house, we set the chime. So if the front door, the window, anything like that opened, she would know if he was trying to get out the house.
Another great idea. Yeah.
What I take from that is people often, caregivers, want to know how can they safely manage this process of the door and the key, and what if Mum or Dad gets out, or uncle. You've just explained that in a way that might be, so the Ring doorbell, the doorbells that have the technology so that you can see who's going in and out is the way to go. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, and there is multiple brands. So I'm not by any means backing the Ring, but I feel like when I say Ring, most people know what I'm talking about. And I know they work with both phone platforms and Google and iPads and stuff. So that's probably the most universal one. And
what about the, so we move on to the inside. So you go inside the house and you're in people are in the hallway or in the formal room, in an area. What are the things that we need to consider once we're in the house?
Should we talk about ramps real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mean to not.
No, go ahead.
But there's two options for getting into your home safely, and I'll do this as quick as possible. The first one is a ramp to get into the door. So we cover up over the steps and do a ramp. Or you could do what's called modified steps. So if you're using a walker and you're not in a wheelchair, or a ramp isn't feasible for the space, we can build our steps that are long enough for a walker, but short steps. So if you have steep steps right now, I'm doing hand gestures, it'll bring it out and smaller. So you might have 4 steep steps. Maybe we can make 6 shallow steps that a walker fits on. And so there's large ramps that could be up to 40 feet. There's medium ramps that could be 6. There's threshold ramps, maybe 2 to 3 feet. And then there's modified steps. So we have a way to get you in and out of the home safely.
That's great.
Wow. Beth, are you keeping time? So let us know when we're 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think we probably got about maybe 20 minutes left.
Okay, let us know when we're 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
Because that's good stuff. And as you saying that, Rose, I was thinking I should have done that for Mum, because I used to fight getting her in the front door with the wheelchair. It was a nightmare. So again, caregivers, look into these resources. They're out there. This Aging Matters is telling you that they have these resources available, and it will make your life as a caregiver so much easier, and it will save you back. Yes?
And we don't charge for these services. This is a donation-based, no-cost program to someone. So if you're scared of the cost it's going to take to build something like that, That should not be an issue. You should only be worried about the safety of the person you're caring about. We've taken the problem of the cost away from it.
Wow,
If you're
that's
in Brevard
fantastic.
County, folks, if you're watching this and you're in Brevard County, Florida, you know, give Rose a
I'm
call,
sorry,
give
she's-
Aging Matters Brevard a call.
Absolutely.
We also have a
Absolutely.
way to widen the doorway. Now, not the doorway itself, but the front door and the other doors in the home. We have hinges that we can put on the door that will bring the door straight back against the wall, so that if you've got a 36-inch wheelchair and your
Yes.
doorway is only 36 inches, there goes your fingers, right? So we can pull this door back and
Wow.
go into the home. We can't widen the doorway, that's a contractor, but we can try these pull back hinges, and that goes for the whole house, which is very helpful for the bathroom, because how many times does a senior have to leave their walker or wheelchair because they can't get into that doorway to the bathroom? And then you call us and we end up grab barring the whole bathroom, so you have something to hold on to, which is fine. But the other alternative is those flexible hinges.
So I'm hearing call. There was resources out there. Caregivers, there's resources out there. What you think might be impossible actually might be possible. And again, as Rose is talking, I'm thinking, oh, that's exactly what happened with me in Mom's bathroom. She had a huge bathroom, but we couldn't get the wheelchair into the toilet area.
Right.
So in the end, we had to go to the other side of the house and use that bathroom, not knowing that Aging Matters in Brevard could come in and maybe have adjusted the door itself.
Wow.
So this is good stuff. So where do we go from here, Rose, in the house to make it? Where should we go now?
Right, so we talked about the living room a little bit already, so I'm going to let that one go. That's our relaxing area, right? We know to move the rugs. The kitchen, in terms of my experience with the kitchen, I will tell you we can look for the plugs that should be in the appropriate areas, but we do not touch on the kitchen very much, except for make sure the lighting is good. Because imagine going in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter so much during the day, but at nighttime, if someone wants to get a drink, the lights don't work. Who's going to get on the ladder and change those lights? And the answer is us. And we also change smoke detector batteries, so that, which again, if you're cooking and everything and you're active in your kitchen, you need those smoke detectors to work. But who's going to change the batteries? Me.
Yeah, I have to insert here my story from my children, and every time our smoke alarm would go off, one of my two boys or my husband would say, "Mom's cooking again." So it's you know,
Well,
at a certain point, I almost didn't even want to cook anymore because they were.
Well, I'm actually, as you're talking, Rose, I'm going through the home safety checklist, which is something that Home Instead put together, and I'm in the kitchen with you.
Okay.
And it says a couple of things, which includes, are the cabinets too high or too low?
Yes.
I want to think about that. Is there clutter on the countertops or throughout the kitchen? Are the pathways obstructed? The lighting they talked about, dangerous chemicals and cleaner materials, secure them away. Making sure the floor is not slippy. Mum had tiles and she had high gloss tiles. And so I had to make sure she had rubber shoes on most of the time when she was walking. Emergency contact information in the kitchen. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that definitely.
Brevard Coalition, Brevard Community Health Coalition, along with the Triad, developed the Vial of Life. Yes. Which is a little plastic container that has paper in, and it has all your contact details in there. Some people, for me, my mum and I, we had a magnet and we put it with all of Mum's details on the fridge. But we have to just raise that the kitchen is an area where you can have that information.
And when you're remodeling your home, and hopefully enough people are seeing this, I know I'm doing it at the end of this year. I'm remodeling my kitchen. In my mind, and because I'm short, I'm going to ask them to lower the counters a little bit. you know, make everything just a little bit less.
Yeah.
Bring those cabinets down. I'll figure something for the top, but bring
Right.
them down because this might be my forever home, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to remodel it after I'm in my 50s. I know I'm not. So just think about those, and the location of the plugs. Can you reach the plugs for your appliances? Are they in the right spot? Because you might be able to plug some of those into an island where you're not reaching across. So there's definitely ways, and special stoves and ovens and microwaves. Bring your microwave down. Put it in where a cabinet used to be so that you're not always up reaching for it. I know at some point I'm not going to reach mine above my stove. At least not.
And then in the pantry area, the items that you use most often, don't keep them high up. Bring them lower down so it's more accessible for you.
I'm guilty of that. All that cereal's way up top, and sometimes I have to get a spatula just to bring it down. So I'm living the life of understanding that, not only because I work here, but because of my vertical challengeness. I kind of can see the things that it would be easier for me, we could change the next time. And it's not going to cost us more, probably less, to have lower cabinets and counters, and to take the time to do that is very important. And also watching the temperature on your hot water heater, making sure it doesn't get too hot when you're doing your dishes and stuff. So that's another thing to look at in the kitchen.
Absolutely. And one of the things you were talking about before with microwaves, as our folks, as we all start to age, we're going to use our microwaves more. That's a safer option than the stove or even the oven.
Right.
You know, the microwave goes off, boom, it's not on all night, which, you know, I've done.
So, kitchen, we've done the bathroom. We've touched on anything more in the bathroom, kitchen. We've done the kitchen.
Well, bathroom is my specialty.
Okay, let's go to the bathroom.
Right. So first we've, you know, hopefully made it where we can get into the bathroom with the doorway. What we want to do again with the rugs, we need to really talk about getting rid of, you know, that's a high consideration. I know the floors get wet, but there's other options than having these rugs. We need to have the appropriate rugs and non-skid rugs, and ones that could be washable, but that's another story. What we want to talk about is, we'll start with the sink. Again, if we're remodeling our bathroom later in life, making a little bit lower of a sink. Checking underneath that we don't have chemicals from the 80s. That's very important, because I know, oh, that bottle of 409 will still work. No, chemicals need to be thrown out. The cabinets need to be decluttered as much as possible. The vanity where all the medications are kept. I know for mine, the top shelf is not even, it's empty because they can't reach up there. So keeping everything important in the lower vanities and bringing things down if we can, including mirrors. And then when we're using the toilet, if there's a place to put a grab bar by the toilet, definitely do it. We don't think about how easy it is now to get up and down off of it, but man, I know the difference between a 15-inch toilet and a 17-inch. If you can ever remodel and get the high-rise toilet, get the 17-inch, because again, it's like the chair in the living room, you can just get off instead of pulling yourself off of it.
Well, here's my plug again for Aging Matters in Brevard, the Sunflower House. We have durable medical equipment, and often it includes those toilet raise seats and those bars that you can attach between the toilet, the cover and the seat, and that have the grab. So if you can't get a grab bar in, maybe if you're in a manufactured home and you don't necessarily have really good studs, you know, you can give us a call.
Definitely. And then of course, when we head into the shower, the grab bars. There is nothing better, and I have one myself. There is nothing better than a grab bar in the shower. If you use soap, you need a grab bar. It's not if you're the such and such age. It's not if you're in such and such condition. If you use soap, have a grab bar. I can't stress that enough, because all of us can fall in there. And what if
with the exception of my children, my sons between the ages of 11 and maybe 15, I think that was a little iffy. I will say we are rounding the corner of 10 minutes left. So just a little heads up.
Okay. So in the shower is the grab bars and also a handheld shower. There's an option of a transfer bench, which if you have a tub, that's very helpful. You sit down outside the tub, then you put your legs over and get into the tub that way instead of trying to do it while you're standing. So handheld shower, grab bars, transfer bench, and shower chair.
We have both of those.
There is some showers that are fiberglass that we can't drill into. So that's when I suggest just go ahead and get a bench, sit down and use the handheld shower. Why try to, chance it if you can't get a grab bar in your enclosure? And some of them are too small. I've seen showers that if I put a grab bar in there now, it's up against me and it just becomes a hindrance. So go ahead and sit down and enjoy your shower. Yeah. And
so from a caregiver point of view, that these suggestions and resources that are there for you, it's to help. And as Rose was speaking about old or outdated chemicals and so forth, it made me think about medications as well.
Oh.
Especially as a caregiver, you need to check the date and that the prescription is still current as well.
Even non-prescription, like just aspirin. Get rid of that old aspirin.
Yeah, really need to check those things. So when we talk about staying safe at home, your way, to do that, these are the steps that will help you to remain in your home safety. That's why we're talking about this subject, and that's why we're going in more detail into the home, into each individual room, to look at what are the things that you can do to make sure it's safe. So we've covered the bathroom, we've done the kitchen, we've done, as you come into the house, the mailbox, the entryway, yes. Rose has talked about the technology that can assist you. Another technology that assisted me with my mama was I had the Great Alert, the alarm system, because she was falling a lot. I needed to know that she could get help, sound for help, and so she had that technology. So the key is that Beth could do another series on the technology that's there to assist you in the home to help you stay at home longer. We're just mentioning it now.
Right.
What about any other areas in the house that we need to discuss? We've got. Well, I think the bedroom is very small changes in the bedroom, but of course, clutter is one of them, and good lighting in the closet is another one. Good lighting in general in the bedroom, of course. Night lights in the hallways, night lights in the bedroom, night lights in the everywhere. Let me just say everywhere, but night lights.
Night lights.
Because one of the hardest things I think it is during the day is when you have a senior who didn't get a good night's sleep the night before. Well, if you have a senior that's getting up and using the restroom a lot and turning on all the lights, how difficult it is to fall back to sleep and get a really good sleep. So night lights, motion light lights even would be better. That way the home is still dim to get a good night's sleep, but when you're up walking around. We also have PVC bed rails. We can slide right underneath the mattress. We make those custom to each home that we go into. And so it's just something to kind of help yourself get up out of the bed. We can put grab bars by the bed, but that's really tricky. That's turning around kind of. And it really, some people can't do that as easily. So the bed rail is a good thing. Keeping all rugs out of the bedroom is a good idea as well. I think that's about it in the bedroom. That's a really simple area. The garage, we can do a threshold ramp in there because almost all of us have a step down into our garage.
Yes.
The lighting in the garage is very important, especially if you're doing laundry in there. And the laundry room too, if it's a separate room, again with the lighting and the placement of the washer and dryer. Do you still need a stacked one, or do you need a side by side? Do you need the ones that you go in and you grab the clothes from the top, or a front facing? All of those things are something to consider as you age, because I know myself, I don't want to be digging down into a washing machine, so I have a front load dryer and washer, and that may be easier for someone. So those are the rooms I'm thinking about. I think we got most of the rooms there.
I think the takeaway is lighting. Lighting is easy, and as we transition, Beth, then we can talk about the 5. Home Instead came up with the 5 fixes under $500, but Aging Matters in Brevard, because we're so fortunate, they're providing quite a lot of resources and help for seniors. And that's what I'm hearing. You've got Beth at the Sunflower House located in the Merritt Island Square Mall, and I know for a fact they have resources there, they have equipment there, because I've donated to them myself. And then Rose with within her team and the program that she runs, there's a lot of free resources out there for you. So the key takeaways, how are we doing with time, Beth?
I think we're probably rolling into the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
So, Rose, key takeaways, things that people can start to do now, because this series is about staying at home your way, a caregiver's perspective. Yes? So
Yes.
what are the key takeaways?
If I was to take one thing out of everything that I just told you, the grab bars to me are the most important, and it is something that there is no other way around it. You can maybe get around the rugs, you can maybe get around the lighting. I don't suggest it. You cannot get around your safety in the shower. Hitting your head on the floor and sitting there for 3 or 4 days is excruciating, and that's something that there's no get around. Please, safety grab bars, give me a call. Like I said, I have them. And I just think everyone should. And we, let's see, 1,200 sets of grab bars we did just last year. Wow. And I've been doing this for 35 years. Wow. So if you think about it, we've probably done 40,000 or more grab bars.
That's 100 grab bars a month.
And did you say it was free?
We like to use the word donation based.
Okay, thank you. I just needed to get that in so people can understand that you can do this.
Yes, don't hesitate at all. And here's the thing, call us out, get more information. If you say nope, I don't want them, fine, we will then kindly leave, but please call us and give us the opportunity to show you what we can do and make you safer, please.
And my takeaway, and then I'll hand over to Beth, is this: nearly 70% of Americans who reach the age of 65 will be unable to take care of themselves at some point without assistance. And so that's what I want you to remember. Those 70% of people, you're going to need some help. And that's why we're talking about this today. And that 9 out of 10 seniors want to remain in their homes. Well, to do that, you're going to have to prepare and take some action to make sure you look at yourself, look at your home, look at your finances, and look at your estate to ensure that everything's in place to enable you to do that safely. And that's my takeaway. I'm Beverly with Home Instead, and to us, it's personal.
Thank you very much, Beverly. This has been extraordinary. My takeaway would be is to have these conversations. If you are an elder person that's now looking, or even if you're not an old person, like, we need to have these conversations with our loved ones. If you're looking to take care of someone, if you're the person that is looking to, if you're the primary caregiver and you need to have additional help in your home, have these conversations with your spouses and your family members or your next door neighbors, your loved ones. We can't say, I don't think I can say that enough, is the conversation is the place to start with all of this, because it doesn't get done unless we all know it. Reach out to us, reach out to your resources, and folks have them. But we won't get it done if we don't feel like we can reach out. So that's my takeaway, is to watch these videos, keep in touch with our fabulous Facebook page that Rose does, and that Rose works on, and our website that everybody at AMIB Matter works on. Thank you so very much, Beverly and Rose, today for being with me for this video series. I thank you very much, and I think we very much might want to come back together again and do more. I think we could all talk for another hour. See, ladies, we were worried about whether or not we could get an hour in, and now I have to speed everybody up. Beverly, I'm so sorry we didn't get to your 5 quick tips. Can you do it in 10 seconds?
Well, actually, Rose covered them. She covered them. It fitted into, it was grab bars, convert lever handles, faucets, light, swing clear hinges, replace wall mounts, shower heads with handheld and shower. So you covered it, Rose. Yes.
There you go. Thank you so much, ladies, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.